Okay, it happens from time to time, or maybe even more than from time to time, but sometimes it's just too noisy outside to be able to work inside your studio or your booth or whatever your recording situation is. Sometimes there's just too much ambient noise around. So I've got 4 solutions or possible solutions for you, and I'll describe what I do. So let's get into it. So as you might know, I've talked about my recording situation before, but just in case this is your first time here, hey, I'm Jan Anderson. I'm a voice actor. Howdy. So what I have here, this is my recording studio. This is where I record. This is pretty much where I do everything. I'm a person who sits most of the time. It's just the way I like to do things. I sit here, I record, I edit, I do everything from right here. Now, if there are roles which I feel like I need more physicality, fighting scenes or monsters or anything that requires, a higher level, then I'll stand. I'll raise my mic up and I'll stand so I can feel my breath a little more, feel the blood pumping through my veins and all that stuff. But most of the time I sit here in my acoustically treated studio. So let me just kind of pan around here a little bit. So as you can see, I've got these panels on all the walls, the ceiling. I've got a nice plush chair back there, which helps to absorb some sound. So this is my spot. But it's on a corner. I'm in a corner room, and we're on a corner lot. And I'm in the corner that's on the corner. And so, yeah, there's cross traffic. And it's heavier at certain times of the day, commute hours, that kind of thing. But still, there are cars that pass by. And this is not a soundproof room. No, not even close. But I wasn't trying to do that. What I set out to accomplish was to provide myself a nicely acoustically treated space. And it is. It works out great here. However, there's a lot of ambient noise at times, more so than in the house that we used to live in, which backed up to country. So sometimes it's a pain. So let me describe what I do. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a for instance. This week, and starting last week, maybe, the neighbor to the back of us was having some housework done. They had a little excavator there, moving dirt, beep, beep, all the sounds. And so that was on the edge of being too noisy. Then comes the jackhammering, and then comes the concrete saw, and the gas-powered generators that go along with some of those tools. I can't record with that. No way. And starting yesterday, we've had a painting crew working in our kitchen. We're having our kitchen cabinets repainted. Or painted, I should say. They were stained before. Too dark for the space, so we're lightening things up. Not that this pertains to anything that we're talking about here. But yeah, we had people working. So I just decided I'm not working. Well, I'm postponing my work. That's what really happens. Because for the most part, what I do is I wait. I wait it out. So what did I do when we had a crew here or there's noise next door or whatever? I wait until it's quiet. So typically what that means for me is working after I've had dinner. So after I've had dinner and everything else, then I'll come in here when it's quiet and I'll do my thing. Okay, so that's option number 1. Wait it out. Things settle down. If you have the luxury of waiting, and I'll be upfront with my clients. I was all day yesterday and the previous day saying, hey, look, I've got some noise around the neighborhood. Please forgive me. But in order for me to deliver a product that I feel really good about, high quality audio, I would rather wait. Now, of course, there are other options. So waiting is option number 1. Number 2 is to ask whoever is making the noise to knock it off for 30 minutes or so, if they can. Another thing that I've done is I'll wait. This gets back to the waiting option. Wait until their lunch break. Usually construction crews or whatever, they'll take at least a 30-minute break. So I'll listen around noon or close to noon. And if I hear, equipment powering down or whatever, I'm going to jump in here, take my opportunity and get as much work as I can before things get fired back up again. Or I'll wait until the evening, like I said. But ask them. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who told me that she, just right when she was going to have an important pre-scheduled directed session, a landscaping crew fired up. And this was a high-profile job, and she couldn't just she did not want to take the chance of disappointing people that had hired her and pre-scheduled this work. But what do? A landscaping crew shows up to somebody else's property right next door. They're, mowing or blowing or whatever they're doing. Damn it! So she ran out there like at 10 minutes before their scheduled time and convinced them with a little green to postpone their job for like 20 or 30 minutes because she knew it was going to be a pretty quick session. And so what did they do? They happened to have another client around the corner, so they went and took care of them first and then came back. But still, I can't remember what she paid them, but it was obviously enough to make it worth their while and to make it worth her while to part with that cash to free her up for the pre-scheduled recording session. So things went without a hitch. Everything was great. There was a little tense moment there, a little stress at the beginning, but she got through it. So that was another option. Ask who's ever making the noise to quit for a while. Okay, now here's option number 3. Most of us have used or do use regularly some kind of noise treating software, plugins in your DAW. Some are better than others. I don't like to use those if I don't have to. Sometimes I will. One thing that I will use on a more regular basis is a high-pass filter, which helps to cut out a lot of low-end rumble, which isn't necessarily discernible, but you can see it in your waveform on the VU meter. You can see it rumbling, in the background. So I use a high-pass filter set at 50 hertz to knock down some of that low-end rumble. There are others. Isotope makes a pretty good noise reduction function. There are many, but they can. If you lay it on too heavy, it will leave an artifact, meaning that you can tell that something's being used. If it's trying to work too hard to get rid of whatever noise you're trying to fight with, you can hear it and it sounds unnatural, and that's generally not acceptable. So if you're going to go that route, be judicious in how you use it. Be gentle. Use a light touch with that kind of stuff because it can mess up your audio. So that was option number 3. Digitally fighting noise with software. Okay. And then comes number 4. Say you live in an area like a city. Buses are driving by. Car horns are outside. Maybe you're in an apartment building and you're kind of close to the elevators and you can hear the equipment going up and down the elevator shafts. Maybe you live in an area that is close to an industrial district. So there's just a lot of ambient noise outside kind of all the time. For these people, it's usually best to invest in some kind of isolation booth, like a whisper room or a Studio Bricks, or there are a bunch of options out there. They're expensive. You can find them used, usually, but that's still going to set you back at least $3,000 or so for a decent one. Brand new, you're talking $6,000, $8,000 or more, maybe, depending upon what you get. Some are better than others in keeping the noise out, isolating you from all the atmospheric noise around you. Double wall construction, that kind of thing. So there are ways of battling the noise around you that all of us with home studios work with. It's just a matter of what works best for you. The weighted out method is generally best for me. Sometimes I'll use a little digital processing to remove some of the background noise, but again, if my light touch won't get rid of it, then I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna force it, because I have a pretty high standard for my audio, and I want my clients to know that too. And as a matter of fact, when you communicate your concerns about your audio to your client, you're showing them that you care about the product that you're delivering. So don't feel weird about that. Let them know. Be honest. And they'll usually be totally fine with it. Sometimes there are rush jobs. What are you going to do? You got to roll with the punches. But if possible, again, depending upon your circumstances, use whatever option works best for you. Did I leave anything out? Are there other options I should have added to my list here? So anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. Please comment or leave a question down below in the comment section, and check out my links in the description. And thanks for joining me. All right. Now, I guess I should do some recording before it gets too noisy again outside. Thanks for joining me. Take it easy.